So our next speaker is Stephen Bediako, whose work is in the area of social investment. He's founder and managing director of the Social Innovation Partnership and co-director of Project Oracle. Stephen, over to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Heritage Lottery, and thank you all for having me at your exchange today. I'm not really an imposter, but I'm a visitor. So I actually work in the space around youth, justice, education, and enterprise, but I feel like we're working in adjacent squares, and I'm running an organization that's trying to tackle social inequality. And I guess I've been asked here today to share with you some of the experiences and insights I've had in trying to deliver change in my sector, and to see if there's anything that you might pick up for your space. So I think the first thing to say is, the heritage sector is in a great place. I consume it in my own time. I go to parks and visit museums, and I think we're doing a great job. But I think there's also a challenge about change and facing up to change, and we're always facing change. And you can just ask Michael Gove. He's facing some change today as well. So to tell you a bit about my organization, the Social Innovation Partnership, we work to design new ideas to tackle those social issues and to help see those ideas through to implementation. You heard from Dan Corey and MPC earlier today. We also work in a similar space to MPC. So we also work to encourage the use of evidence in those systems. So we do a lot of work with youth organizations, education organizations, to encourage them to use evidence. And one of the biggest projects we've delivered in the last few years in London is a project called Project Oracle. And this is to build what we call a children and youth evidence hub. You're going to have to bear with me on some of the language here and maybe ask for definitions a bit later. A children and youth evidence hub is basically trying to work with the actors in London who are involved in the delivery of services to children and young people. We've identified those as commissioners who fund services, providers who deliver services, and academics who are interested in researching those services. And what we've tried to do is encourage those actors to work together in different ways, in ways that they haven't worked together in the past, to encourage the generation of better evidence and better measurement of children and youth services in London. And Project Oracle has a set of standards that sit in the middle and a number of mechanisms that sit around it. So we encourage providers to use researchers from universities, or we encourage commissioners to use academics to inform their commissioning exercises. And really, what Project Oracle is trying to do is change the way London uses evidence, close the gap between academics and providers. And so today I want to explore three things very quickly, which I think are quite relevant to yourselves. One is making full use of your assets, right? You have lots of spaces, museums, parks, open spaces. And I think there's a question about, could you go further with how you use them? You have things like kind of Late at the Tate, or we've been working with the GLA who've developed something called the London Curriculum, where kids will be able to go into museums and places and learn their education and learn their understanding of London right there in those spaces. And I think this is happening all the time, but the question is, can you really drive that and can you scale that? The second point is opening up and creating new spaces for communities to engage with what you're doing. So, an example, you have an organization called Space Hive, which is an online crowdfunding platform which allows people to identify projects in their community, spaces they want to develop, secure funding, and develop them. And the question is, can the heritage space engage with this and really try and scale this kind of activity up? Another thing is Charlie Ledbetter talks about systems and empathy and about creating public objects of love. And I really wonder whether heritage spaces can also kind of try and create these relationships with people that are not usually users of these services, people from more disadvantaged communities or more diverse communities. And so I think on this point of opening it up to community spaces, I leave you with a bit of a catchphrase, which is, is there an opportunity for unusual suspects to access your space at unusual times to do unusual things? And so the final point I wanted to talk about as well was good leadership and partnership and what that takes to deliver innovation. And I think especially on Project Oracle and trying to deliver this project in London, what we've learned is that if you really want to deliver innovation, it only starts with the research. The research gives you an insight, but it's actually about testing things, building things, trying to scale them. and understanding what quality looks like when you're ready to scale something, whether it's locally or nationally. So I think that's something really important to think about. I'm also quite a keen capitalist, actually. A previous life before starting my organization, I used to work in the city. And so I'm a firm believer that you need to create marketplaces, right? There needs to be a transaction. People need to value what it is you're doing. And if you can create a marketplace around new innovations, then you can get real adoption. And then the final point I would make is, again, at the moment, you're seeing a splurge of activity in incubation and accelerators, supporting entrepreneurs. My organization is based in the New Zealand Embassy on the first floor, where we're a member of something called the Westminster Hub. And the Hub is a network of open, shared, collaborative spaces in kind of unused, new, old spaces in cities all over the world that allows entrepreneurs to come into those spaces and use them to grow their businesses. And I guess my question to you is, heritage spaces, could they be used for these alternative means that will allow you to engage and build different emotional connections with communities, but also allow you to generate income? Thank you.